Hi, and welcome back to Walking with the Chosen. I'm your host, Shay Keith. On today's episode, I'm going to share with you my experiences for filming season 5 in Utah. I can't wait to tell you all about it. There's so much to share. So let's get started. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge because I can't give away any secrets. I can't tell you about season 5 because then Dallas might come after me and be like, you need to stop that podcast. And we're not having any of that. I have to share my heart, and I've asked God to help me reveal what is okay to reveal so that you will know a little bit about what it's like being an extra, or as they said on set, you're a background actor. You're not just an extra. So let me tell you a little bit about the experience firsthand because it was amazing. So let's get into season 5, what I can share. And I'm going to I have a bunch of notes here about what we did every day. And those are mainly for me and so that I can share it with you next year when it comes out. What I will say is, if you ever get a chance to be an extra, and there's only 2 seasons left after this, if you ever get a chance, you see something comes up, pray over it and see if God wants you to go, because it will change your life. The women that I've met, one I met at Chosen Con, so I already knew her through a mutual friend, but the other ones I met because of going to season 5. And they are the most beautiful people I've met. And they also have emotions that pour over them when they watch the show. We had emotions pour over us while we were on set watching the actors act. And we all have a newfound respect for the actors, the crew, and all the people that are there to allow us, all these extra people, big super fans, to all be part of the show. One thing I discovered was, as much as a super fan as I thought I was, I have nothing on these people. There are people that that's the only thing they watch is The Chosen. And I was like that more in the beginning when it was totally changing my life. But then I've learned to watch other shows. And honestly, I don't watch TV that much. I'm lucky if I get to watch one Christian movie a week. And that's all I watch. I don't watch other stuff anymore. I watch PureFlix, or if I can find a Christian movie, sometimes they're on Amazon or Netflix, I'll watch those. Very seldom do I watch just mainstream TV because I found that those don't satisfy me anymore. I want something that has a God aspect to it, like requires faith to help somebody go from here to here, because it helps me understand what my faith journey is. I do watch a lot of YouTube videos. I find preachers and like Joyce Meyer or just other people like that help me understand parts of the Bible or help me know how I should live my life. So that's where I focus most of my efforts at today. So I just don't have the same, I'm not going to watch The Chosen every single day repeatedly, but I have watched season 1 and 2 at least half a dozen times, if not more. Season 3, I haven't watched as much, so I've started watching that one again recently. I think I'm about, I just watched the part 1 of The Bleeding Woman, so I have to go back and watch part 2. And I was watching that maybe when I first got back from the Chosen set, I think. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is the people that you meet in the tent area. So the tent is set up for all of us. There's a tent for what they call the Teal Group. The Teal Group are Chosen extras who are paid. They're not fans. They didn't donate to the Come and See Foundation like we did. But they had accommodated for 600 people to show up week 1, week 2, and week 3 in Goshen, Utah. So people ask me all the time, well, how did you find out about it? Well, I watched the live streams for one thing, and I will try to be better about sharing that information in my Facebook group. I have been sharing a lot more things as I learn about them with my Facebook group because I realize not everybody's into that. You know, they love the show, but they don't necessarily pay attention to every live stream that Dallas is going to do. They're probably not on Dallas's text messaging on the phones or whatever. So I'm trying to share more of that so that people are aware, like, oh, it's 5 and 2 day. Don't forget, this is when they have all these great specials to buy shirts and they give you free stuff at the same time. It was kind of a fun day. I just want to be able to offer that information as an insider so that you also can be ready to go the next time this happens. So I'm going to assume that sometime in the next springtime, January, February, March time zone of 2025, there'll probably be something set on a live stream that Chosen Extras, this is your opportunity. You need to go here and fill out a form. And so what they had us do this year is we went to the Come and See Foundation. We had to say, yes, I'm interested in being an extra. I think it was only a week later, they sent out an email on Monday morning. This is part 2. So first you got to pay attention for the live stream. Part 2 is I would highly recommend that you join the Chosen Extras Facebook group, because people will start talking about it, and that'll also help you be aware that, oh, this is coming. They'll say, oh, I just saw the notice last night, fill out the form. So a lot of people thought, well, that meant I get to go be an extra. No, you got to wait. So another email will come out that says, you've been selected to be an extra. And these come out at different times. I don't know how they plan it, but I got mine, I don't know, 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And as soon as I got it, I'm like, well, crud, my boss is on vacation and I want to go do this thing. And I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet. My boss is very easygoing. And, as long as nobody else is going to be gone at the same time where there's too many of us leaving, like big holidays, it's usually not an issue. But at the same time, I still want to ask his permission. So I stepped out on faith anyway, and I thought, you know what? It's in April. It's not a big holiday season at that time. Nobody's really going to be gone. I'm just going to assume it's a good to go, and I'm going to go. So I went ahead and I sent in, it was a $400 donation to come and see. And that obviously is tax deductible, and it helps spread The Chosen in all these other languages. And I have no problem with that. It's $400, especially when you see all that they do for you when you show up. It's money well spent. So I gave them the $400, and then you have to say like what the dates are you want to be there. So you are allowed to go, and at least for this year, I don't know what 2025 will be like, but you were able to say, I want to be there all 3 weeks. I want to be there for 2 days of week 1, or I want to be there 3 days of week 2, whatever it is. So you can be there 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. So it was totally up to you, but you just had to specify when you wanted to be there on this form. I didn't know which week I wanted to go, so I picked in the middle. I said, I'll do week 2. And I chose the right week for me because the one scene I really wanted to be there for, I got to be there for. So that was very special. I'm so glad I chose week 2. Week 1 had amazing scenes. I know about some of it. Yeah, you couldn't have gone wrong. And week 3 picked up with some of the stuff we did in week 2. So again, it would have been a good week to go. And I'm sure they had some amazing things happen as well for week 3. So all 3 weeks were good. I wish I could spend all 3 weeks there, to be honest, now that I know what it's like, but I only get 3 weeks vacation. I don't want to give it all to The Chosen because I like to do other things too, especially go to ChosenCon or whatever. So once you send out this application, they'll send you a confirmation back that says, okay, we see that you paid the donation and we got your application. So here's your ticket from Eventbrite. So once you have your ticket, you're good to go. You just have to show up on those particular days. They're not transferable, so you can't give them to your sister or your brother or your best friend. You want to make sure that whatever you buy at that time when you send it in. That's another thing to remember is if you go for all 3 weeks or if you go for 3 days, it's the same price. It's still the same $400 donation. It didn't matter. I don't know if that will change in the future, but that's what they did this year. So I paid my $400. I picked week 2 for a whole 5 days, and I was originally going to go for 2. But then when somebody said, it's really beautiful out there, you're already spending the money to fly out, you might as well stay the whole week. But again, I'm trying to get the side hustle business of mine going so that I have money because I'm always broke. I never have money. And I thought, how on earth am I going to pay for this? How am I going to get to go on this trip when I'm broke? And I don't want to have to go further in debt because I'm trying to get out of debt. So after I paid for it, I posted, I'm official, I'm an extra, I get to go. Now I just got to figure out how I'm going to pay for it all and I'll be good to go. Well, God stirred in some hearts of people, and this is so incredible. But I had people start saying, hey, I want to give you money for The Chosen. Hey, I want to give you money for this. I'm like, why are people giving me money for this? And I had a dozen people. They all gave me various amounts of money. And I finally had a chance to add it up when I got back home, and all the money that was donated covered the cost of the car rental that I split with a friend of mine. It covered my Airbnb, and it covered my travel, my flight. Everything was covered by the amount of money that people donated. I still had to go pay for my costumes and the accessories and food while I was out there eating, which was fine. But they covered the 3 main expenses I was worried about. So, hello, God, thank you. That was incredible. In fact, it was just a hair bit short of what I had to pay. But then I found out later, once my friend filled up the gas tank, I actually kind of overpaid, probably about the same amount. It was only like $8. It was nothing major. But it's like That is so cool. I didn't come out and say, hey, can people support me? People suggested, like, do a thing on the podcast that says, buy me a cup of coffee. Then people that listen to the show can help pay for my experience. No, these are just people. There was a guy from my high school. I haven't seen him since I was probably a junior in high school or a senior in high school. He was a year younger than me. So that was back 1987. Would have been the last time I saw this person in person. And he gave me money because he knew it was important to me. How amazing is that? And another guy from my high school that I never met in high school, he donated money, and I had family. It was just amazing. Wow, Oh, I'm just so grateful. And I had such an amazing experience. I mean, I was happy and joy filled the whole time I was there because of the people I met. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there was obviously this whole experience I got to partake in. So once you're there, once all that's taken place, and you can go out and look at the set if you want, but you can't get through. They have a gate, so you can't get through, but at least you could see where it was at. It's very easy to get to. The hard part is like, where am I going to stay at? I met strangers, stayed with them in my Airbnb. One of them, her mother's name is my full legal name, and her mother has since passed, but it was pretty cool. When she saw my name on Facebook as Shay Keith, and she's like, oh, my mother's maiden name was Keith. I'm like, well, that's really cool. She goes, yeah, my mom's name was Sharon Keith. And I said, well, that's really my legal name is Sharon Keith. And then she said, this is my mom's middle name. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. We have the same full name. So that kind of brought us together. So we started talking. And then once I saw a picture of her and her daughter, I realized I saw her at ChosenCon. I saw them running all around, and so that was kind of cool. It brought that memory back to me. And then there was another gal that I met through a mutual friend that's trying to get me to interview the actor who plays Gaius. And so we had a conversation, and he's like, well, here's my friend. And her name is Sharon. And so she was going to join us in this Airbnb. And then at the last minute, another Sharon reached out and said, can I stay in your Airbnb for a night? I'm kind of in between places. I'm like, yeah, sure. We have a couch you can sleep on. So it's crazy that we have all these Sharons. And the first one, whose mother's name was my legal name, her mom's name was Sharon. Her dad's name was Andy. So her name was Shandy. So she's got the name Sharon in there. So it's so cool that we're all there, And our schedules were, me and Shandy, we had the same schedule to be on set at 6:15 a.m. every day. So, all right, we're 35 minutes away from the set. That means we got to leave by 6:30 to get there on time. Or no, I'm sorry, 5:30. We wanted to be ready by 5:30. We left our Airbnb at 5:40, and we got there. The first morning was the latest. I think we got there about 6:20. We were out on the main road. You don't want to be early, just so you're aware, if you get to do this experience, and it has to do with traffic control, because these are a bunch of farmers that live out there, and they don't want you blocking the road because they need to get through. So they reemphasize this. The Facebook groups reemphasize this. There will be a Facebook group that springs up for The Chosen Season 6, and you will have to join that. You don't have to, but I highly recommend that you join it, because that's how you're going to learn about costumes and all these rules. And I will try to do an episode next year, as I recall, so I can give you the breakdown, because it's not going to do you any good to know all this stuff now. And then next year, you're going to be like, I'm finally a chosen extra. What do I got to do? So I'll break all that down next year. Hopefully I don't forget everything. Maybe I'll record it now and have it for next year. Anyway, you want to be there like right at the time you're supposed to be there. So we came in at 6:15. I don't know if there was any 6:30 people, but I know there was a 6:45 time, and that just keeps all the people moving. So when you get there on the first day, you have to show them your ticket. They scan it. And because I was there for a full week, you also had people that were coming in for 2 days, and then they leave. On Wednesday, you have the 3-day people that are coming in. So you have to bring your ticket back out on that Wednesday and show them again. And then they give you a new lanyard color, or possibly a new lanyard color. So the colors are important because they will call out, there's 3 colors, red, blue, and green. They'll call you out as they need the numbers to go down on the set. But once you go in, you immediately go in, you grab your breakfast, you go sit down on your table, you find somebody to talk to. Luckily, I knew a couple people, and I talked to some people in the Facebook group before I met. And so we all hung out together, and we just ended up having this amazing, incredible friendship, a sisterhood. I mean, it's so amazing what God can do. And I looked forward to seeing these people every day and spending time with them. So once you're in the tent and you have your breakfast, Mitch, who is I think he's called the director of all the background extras. So he comes out, he tells everybody what has to happen. He's always in a great mood.
How's it going, guys? Oh my gosh, so yeah, I'm Mitch. I'm the second assistant director on the shows, which means that I direct the background actors. Who's today's the first time here? Nice. Well,
they'll tell you silly things like, if you see Mitch put his hat on, boo him, but when he takes it off, cheer. And Mitch is bald, so I don't know where this came from, but it gets you kind of involved in the moment. So you're cheering 1 minute or whatever. The first day, Dallas did come in.
Oh, thank you so much. My heart is so full seeing you here. This is so beautiful. How many of you are here for the first time? Awesome.
And he talked to us briefly, not very long, because he has to hurry up and get down on set as well. And set is a quarter of a mile to half mile away. I'm not exactly sure how long that walk was, but there goes the red group walking back. There's the set. So you're in the tent. They kind of let you know what's happening that day. They'll say, today we're filming episode such and such. So you'll know which scene or which episode you're going to be in. And depending on what it is, they might say, okay, today, and this happened to me one of the days, this is a very somber mood. So we need you all to be very quiet when you go on set. We don't want you talking. We're not going to be cheering because there are things that happen in between the different scenes and things like that. So we want everybody to stay very quiet. In the beginning, I would say that particular day, we all started off very well, but as the day went on, we kind of slacked back into our old habits. And I know I probably was one of the bad people on that. So I'll talk about that here in a minute. But anyway, so when they're done doing their little spiels, they'll say, we're going to start calling people down here in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. So that's kind of your cue to go use the bathroom one last time before you go down on set. There are porta potties up by the tent and there's porta potties down by the set. And you can always leave the set. Like if you've been acting for a while and you're like, I really got to go to the bathroom, you just slip out and go do your thing and then try to slip back in when the timing's right. When they call your color group, they'll say, we're going to need, the blue group is going to have to go with us now. And then of course, blue group's like, yay! They're all grabbing their stuff and everybody else is like, no, wah, wah. You're waiting for your turn to go. Sometimes they call all 3 color groups. We need all the groups to line up outside. So everybody lines up. They hold you in position. There were some people that were struggling to walk a lot. Some of, I will say, the older generation. And so they would get on these little carts and they would run them down, which was very nice of them. But you really want to be able to feel comfortable walking because you're going to be doing a lot of walking. They have a props trailer. So they'll come up and ask some people if they want to carry props. So you might be carrying a basket or a cane. I think that pretty much anybody can go up and get one, but I'm not 100% sure because I never did carry any props. I just didn't want to have to mess with anything else. I already had my purse that has everything in it, like your phone, your water bottle, snacks, as they give you snacks all day. And if you don't want them right now, you'll stick them in your bag. You know, whatever if you needed gloves or maybe you had leg warmers leggings on earlier in the day and you took them off, all that stuff gets shoved into your bag. And the more stuff you put in there, the heavier it gets. So I didn't want to carry a prop. That was just too much extra. Man, there's so much that I can't even barely scratch the surface of everything that happened because it's just so much and I'm running out of time to tell everything. Okay, costumes. That's something else I can talk to you about. So costumes was a challenge because I am not somebody, I'm a t-shirt girl. I do not wear anything. I don't even like wearing makeup. I just put makeup on to do my podcast, but I don't like wearing makeup. I don't like doing hair. So I thought this is going to be a major problem for me. And I reached out to a really close friend of mine. She's in my life groups and a really good friend. And she actually teaches things like sewing and cooking. So I'm like, you got to help me with this. And luckily, these chosen groups and the chosen themselves, they will send you a thing saying, here is the patterns that if you want to go make your own costume, you can go on Amazon, look for some tunics. the main rules are no polyester because it's shiny. Try to find something in cotton or linen. You're going to want to tea stain stuff that looks too white because it can't be white looking, as it'll stand out too much on set. And people week 1 apparently came in with some cheesy costumes. And I wasn't there, but that's just kind of the word I heard. They were like a cape, something you'd find for a Halloween costume. And people question, like, there were people helping them, trying to help them, and they would get offended. And the reason why they got offended is like, no, I want to be seen. So these people were coming with the wrong heart. They wanted to see themselves on TV, and it's not why you should go. You should go because you want to help support this incredible story that tells God's story, his love story for us. And just be there in the moment and just appreciate everything that's happening around you, because you will meet the most amazing people. Don't be offended if somebody comes up to you and tries to help, maybe with your hair, you know, if you're wearing the scarves, or if they're helping you with maybe the jewelry you're wearing, only because they're trying to make sure that you look as authentic to First Century as possible. It's all anybody wants to do, because we want to look good. And I will admit, I accidentally left my watch on before. And somewhere recently, I could have sworn that I saw the face of my watch light up through, like, you know, when you're walking, I saw it light up through something. I don't know if it was a dream or what, but I saw that and I thought, oh no, I had that watch on a couple of times because I knew people were wearing their watches because they were hidden under the tunics. I thought you couldn't see them, but then with the face shined. So I don't know. I didn't always wear it. I did take it off several times and stick it in the pocket just so I could still count my steps without it getting in the way, because I didn't want my 21st century thing to show up on First Century, because I don't want them going, well, can't have this person in here, we're going to airbrush her out. Okay, airbrush is old technology, that's not current, but you know what I mean. They're going to brush you out of the scene somehow, and you don't want that to happen, especially because it takes more time for them, that they've got to worry about doctoring up all the scenes because people did not dress appropriately, or they didn't put on the right clothing and costume. And it's an honest mistake. I did that one time. I forgot I was trying to take it off every time. And one of the guys saw me and he goes, well, I hope you take that 21st Century watch off. He was one of the crew members. I'm like, oh, crud, thanks. I forgot all about that, because I had something else too. And, you know, the phone, I would have that with me sometimes, but you're not allowed to film on set. And people did on the first week, but they do not want you doing that, period, because it's spoiler alerts, so nobody wants to know what's happening. We all want to find out. Yes, the Bible is the biggest spoiler alert of them all, but when it comes to The Chosen, we want to see it show up in front of us. So there's so much more to talk to you about. Talked about costumes. We talked about what it's like to be in the tent, and when you're waiting, sometimes there's a big waiting period. So the best thing to do is they have some TV set up there and you can watch prior seasons of The Chosen, which is kind of fun. They started off with episode 1, season 1, and they gave you headsets. So everybody has a headset on, and those sometimes have to get recharged, but they had like 300 of them up there and hardly ever got used. There was games that they brought. People brought their own games. People brought their knitting with them, their crochet, all that stuff. But a lot of it was just conversations that took place and time to eat, time to drink, and then you wait for your time to get called on set. Being on set is very interesting, and you learn a lot of terminology. You learn some of it before you go to set, but you quickly pick it up because it's repeated so many times. So here are some of the terms you will hear when you're on set. Pictures up, camera set, background, action, cut, background reset, pause, camera move, rolling. Those are the things you hear, and that's kind of the inflection they use because how things progress. So what happens first is you show up on set and they tell you, you need to go here, you need to go there, we need a bunch of people over here. There's blue screens, which are like green screens that a lot of us use in the YouTube world. You know, we have a green screen behind us. Weather meteorologists, they use green screens. But they had 2 blue screens on either side of the Big Jerusalem set because when they go into their editing mode of the video, they can put in scenery there. So we did get to see a huge set. I shared that in my Facebook group. So if you go to Walking with the Chosen Facebook group, you will find a video that Dallas created a few years ago when they first were using the Goshen set. I think that might have been season 2. And so that was really cool that he showed the trailers that were set up. He showed the actual set, what the different areas are called. And so when you get to set, like I said, they tell you where to go. They tell you first where to wait. So we waited in this place called the Women's Court. And, you know, back in that time, women weren't allowed to go into the main temple. So they had their own area where they met. So that's kind of where we were. They call it the Women's Court. You'll see it a lot on season 5 because I know that they film scenes there. I was in a scene there filming that area. And then you walk through some doors and go down steps, and then you're on the big Jerusalem set. And that's where you see the really big columns and lots of steps. Season 4 was filmed there. There was a scene in particular on the last, let's see, I think it was episode 6 on season 4. I won't tell you what it is if you haven't seen season 4, but there was a big scene that's filmed there. So anyway, I'm sure they use blue screens for that one. So back to the terminology. So they tell you first where to go. And what they do is they'll say pictures up, and that basically is telling, well, it means something different to them, but as a background extra, that's like, okay, you better start paying attention because they're getting ready to roll. So after pictures set, the next thing you'll notice is there is a cameraman who does a lot of walking video, and he will be down close to the action that's taking place. So he wears this special mounting device across his shoulders, and somebody else will come over and they're going to set a camera on his shoulders. And almost immediately after that is on, they will yell background. But so the first thing is they'll say camera set. As soon as it's set and the camera is ready, I think he's the final piece. So I'll give an example. There was a scene that I was in, and I was the camera guy was up front because he wanted to be watching the action, what was taking place. And I'm standing here not too far behind him. I mean, he's literally like here, and I'm probably 2 people behind off to the side. Then they bring in this giant boom arm for the microphone. So the microphone, you know, is up here somewhere where you can't see it. And they slide that in and they get it ready. The camera guy's in place. And then once they get whatever other cameras, I guess, are rolling, I couldn't tell you where the cameras were. They tell you, do not look at the cameras. Well, other than the one guy who's walking around, I have no idea where the rest of the cameras are. I'm just paying attention to where they want me to go. Anyway, so the boom arm's in place. The guy is ready. Somebody comes along and click, they lock in the camera on his shoulder. Then they say, camera set, background. I mean, it's almost that fast. They don't wait because I'm sure this camera he's wearing probably weighs 200 pounds. I mean, and he's not a big dude either, you know? So he's ready to go. And then as soon as they yell background, that's our cue to start moving. And what background extras do is we're always being crossing ABC. So your thing is like, imagine being on a city street like New York City, really crowded city, and you're walking down and you're trying to get someplace and you got to twist your arm this way, twist your arm that way, and try to, you know, slide through there. That's what you're doing because there's 600 people. Sometimes there's only 200 or sometimes there was 400, but in a lot of these scenes, there were 600 of us. And at one point we were in a very small area. It was a marketplace area. And I know they put some people down lower in one area, which used to be the pool of Bethesda. They were down. There was us who were like up on a ramp up high because they need all of the motion. They need it to look like people really are shopping or they're really going to the temple or whatever they would be doing during Holy Week. And yes, this is Holy Week if I didn't say that already, but Dallas has told that too. So that's not a spoiler alert. It's just where we're at with the whole show. When you're up moving and you're trying to get through places, they tell you like, think about where you're going. You have a destination. You are somebody in the first century and you're shopping because it's Holy Week and there's stuff you need to do or you need to buy your, you know, take your lamb or whatever it is you're doing. So I would start walking through the crowd and whatever was taking place, they usually told us what to do. So most of the time I was just crossing through the crowd. So the next thing they will say, after background is action, and that's when the main actors start their acting. So first it's background, then it's action, and when the scene is good, they cut, and then it's done. There are some other little things that take place, like you'll see the people come out with a little clapperboard, you know, marking the different scenes and things like that. That takes place. And then after cut, you're supposed to pause, usually, But most of the time, we just started going back to where we started. So that's one of the things that they want you to do is background reset. So that means you go back to where you started. You might have started 100 feet someplace else, and they want you to go back to that place because they're going to start, they have to refilm that shot. And if they have to put pieces together, they don't want it to be where, oh, here's Shay walking over here. And now she just jumped ahead 15 feet. It wouldn't flow correctly. So you try to always get back to where you started and follow the same path. So don't go this path on the first take and the cameras haven't moved yet. And then you go this way. That could ruin things. So you keep following the same path. And so that's background reset. You go back to where you started. Pause is you wait. You don't do anything. Sometimes they don't want you to move. So sometimes from pause, it's background reset. Sometimes it's camera move. And then we clap because that means they got the takes that they needed. They're happy with them and it's ready to move on. So that's kind of a happy moment. And that's, so everybody claps during that. And you just kind of pick this stuff up naturally when you're there because all the other people have done this before. They're already clapping or doing whatever. And then rolling, that's usually the sound to say, okay, quiet, set's getting ready to roll. So I guess rolling was really the first one before pictures up. Or maybe it's pictures up first, then rolling. I forgot. I'm already forgetting. It's only been a few weeks. And the other thing is, if you do need to be talking, sometimes there was one scene where I got to cross right behind some action that was taking place. And so my friend and I got to pantomime. So we don't actually say anything. We're just saying 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're making some motion, Oh, and then I had to listen because, if I'm doing the talking, she's listening. And if she's doing the talking, I have to listen. So we had to pantomime a little bit. And I didn't get to do that very much. That was the last day that I was there. But I will tell you that I had some cool things happen. I mentioned this on a podcast episode that I just did today. So there's one scene where this happened on the first day. There's something that happened in season 4 that goes into season 5. I'll say that much. So there's a storyline that's arcing through, and there's stuff that happens that first day that I couldn't hear, but I had a pretty good idea. There's some things that are going to happen in episode 2. Again, there's probably going to be some tears. I'm just saying with some of the characters. And there's going to be some other characters that we haven't seen in a while. They're going to come back, and that's kind of cool. And that's all I'll say on that. I'll leave you to suspense. You won't know who that is. I heard about some other characters who might have been there on a different time. So much. I mean, that's the thing. When you're there, you get little bits and pieces, but I obviously don't want to ruin it for you. And even I don't know what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. I just know of things. And I'm trying to be very general here. Don't want to give anything away. But there was a time where 2 of the brothers, you'll have to figure out which ones, ran past me, and I had no idea that they were going to be doing that. They didn't tell me ahead of time. So we're in this busy marketplace area, and I am doing my ABCs, and I walk up this little ramp area, which I hated that particular ramp, especially coming back down. I have kind of iffy knees, and I don't know, it was just uneven and rocky and not real steps. And I was just like, oh, come on, I just don't want to have any issues. So I go up there and I see these 2 particular actors standing there in full costume, just kind of like hanging out. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Wasn't expecting to see them. And then I walked on and I went to a little cart to pretend like I was shopping, and I did some other stuff. Like you just pick up something, you look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, don't really do anything. And you got all the market people calling you over to see if you're gonna buy, but anyway, so I went through my thing, and as I was going back up to the ramp, all of a sudden I get this, this is a spoiler alert, Rabbi, I hear that, and I get bumped into by these 2 brothers. And oh wow. Now we retook that scene multiple times, and they ran past me multiple times, like bumping shoulders with me. That's how close they were. So I might get to see a little snippet of myself in there. Maybe. I'm not sure that I'll actually see anything. It just took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it. And since you reset, I wasn't always right back there. Sometimes, most of the time I was back when they came through, but not every single time, because I never knew when they were going to do that, because there was actually another scene that was being filmed at the same time, as I recall. So something else was happening unrelated to these guys, and then this happened. So it just happened really quick. And there were times where they're trying to get through the crowd, and maybe that's why they didn't tell us they were going to be there, because they wanted to make sure that this was, you know, they wanted the look of surprise on our face. Like, why is somebody bumping into me? What is going on? And it's okay to go, what was that? You know, to turn around and kind of look quickly, just like you would if you're in a crowded marketplace and somebody bumped past you, unless you're totally just oblivious and you could care less and you just keep on walking. I don't know. But anyway, so they ran past me. And a few times they were trying to climb up around. And one time, one of these actors struggled to get through the crowd because there was just so many people there. But they were very nice. And there was a time, I forgot about this. This was fun. There was a moment in time where I was with one of the actors, was standing right in front of me. And he was, and Dallas was right in front of me. So I'm standing on a step, and they're literally like, I could put my hands on them. They're that close. There's nobody between us. And the one actor, they had makeup come over. They do a thing called last looks. And so last looks, which is another terminology, is when the costume and makeup people come out and they will look at their face, look at their hair, brush it, straighten it, whatever they need to do. And since these guys have been running through the crowd so many times, but this one guy, he's like, I don't remember exactly what his words were, but it was something like, this is how I keep looking sexy, or something along that line. And I started laughing, and then he turns around and he goes, I'm just kidding. And then Dallas turns around to me and goes, no, he's not. And I felt like I was in on their little story. So that was kind of cute. I like that. And, you know, we're not supposed to talk to the actors. We're not supposed to be like, hey, great job. I love seeing you. And, you know, you don't do that. They're doing their job. They're in their mindset. They're portraying these characters that we love so much. So you just let them be. But I couldn't help but laugh when he said it. So it was totally just an innocent thing. And that was my moment, I guess. I guess I had a few moments while I was out there, but that was one of them. So being on set is really cool. That was our first day. The second day, there were some characters that were in there that I did not know what was going on. I had no clue. They were just there. I knew who they were, but I didn't understand like the storyline. But I think it was all part of episode 2. That's all I know, is I'm in episode 2. So I think all week I was pretty much doing episode 2. They did do a little bit of filming, I think, for episode 7, I heard, but I don't think I was in any of those particular scenes. So I really couldn't even tell you what episode 2 is about. I have an idea. Well, I do know one part, but I won't say anything. There's one part I definitely know what happens, but the rest of the storyline, I couldn't tell you. I don't know how all these pieces are going to fit together. I do know that some of it comes from season 4 and from prior seasons, and so that's why it's going to get very interesting. And I just heard something today on an interview. It was after my interview was done, but this particular person, she was actually there on week 1. And there's somebody that I can't wait to tell you guys about this stuff, but I'm going to have to wait till next year when season 5 comes out, because it's spoiler alerts. But there is a person, and if anybody from the Chosen extras hears this, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a person who looks very similar to another person, and I guess there was something that this person was apologizing for stepping on this person's feet. My guest was apologizing for stepping on this person's feet, and they're like, well, just wait till you see what I do in this season or something like that. So I have no idea. Like I said, all this stuff is so cryptic, but I'm not allowed to give anything away, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody either, and I definitely don't want to ruin it for the Chosen, because they work so hard to keep these things, you know, sealed up so nobody knows what's going on. And as far as our costumes, I mentioned earlier, we had to dress for Century. I mean, there's no spoiler alerts there. I had 2 different tunics that I wore that I changed out, that I had soaked in tea. And then I bought some maxi, they're called maxi dresses off of Amazon. And one was green, and it was like, what do I want to say? No sleeves. It was sleeveless. And I had that. And then I also had a blue skirt that I would sometimes wear underneath my tunic. And then sometimes I had a rope belt that I also tea stained, and I would tie that. But I also found that scarves that we bought, everybody was wearing these same kind of Amazon scarves. They worked really great for a belt also. And then my hair was the biggest challenge because I have a lot of it. My hair is long, but it's also very thick. And I have never tried to wrap my hair in a scarf before. So there we had to, you pull your hair back, and then you would take the scarf and you might like pull it back. I should have an example. I should show you guys how this works. So maybe I'll do that later. But you put the scarf over your head. Like you could put a bandana on. I used to have one laying here. Not a bandana, but like a sweatband kind of thing. You put that on first, and then you put the scarf on, and then you can tie it. You can braid it. A lot of people could use 2 or 3 scarves. And there's different materials that work better. But that was probably the trickiest part. So in the morning when I got ready, you don't wear any makeup. The chapstick was okay, but anything else you weren't allowed to wear. You couldn't have fingernail polish, so I had to go without any color, which I really like. No toenail polish or anything like that. No jewelry of 21st century, but you could wear things that, like, I couldn't wear my favorite Yahweh necklace, but you could wear beads that were made out of wood. I think some metals might have been okay, but I definitely don't think this kind of chain would have worked. So I had a bracelet that my friend had. It was a little rope kind of bracelet. So she loaned that to me, and I wore that. She also loaned me some wooden earrings, but I didn't wear them because my ears did not want that. Oh, and I bought a purse off of Amazon. It was a pretty good sized purse. It was probably, I don't know, 1.5 feet tall, 1.5 feet wide. It was pretty good size, and it was a crossbody bag that you wore, and it had some design on it, but they thought that would probably work. That was one that almost everybody had. I tea stained it because mine was a little bit whiter because I think I went with a little bit different pattern on Amazon. And then I had black sandals that were rope sandals, yeah, I guess that's probably the easiest thing. They're not real rope. They actually had, people did have rope sandals, and they had even rope bottoms, and those were fine. They just don't want buckles. And another thing I learned about, I've never used before, is called moleskin. And my shoes were fine. I really didn't have any issue, but I felt like on the side of my foot, it was starting to feel like it was getting hot in this one place. And a friend of mine said, you need to get some moleskin. They keep it there with the first aid team. So they give you a couple little pieces, and I just put it underneath where I thought maybe my shoe was rubbing, and never had a problem with it the rest of the week. In fact, I ended up buying some moleskin because I used it on several places, and I really wasn't getting any marks or anything on my feet from my sandals. They were really comfortable, but it just, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's the air up there because it's so dry. It just felt different. And the moleskin just helped me forget about them. There were some people that were wearing little stockings on their feet. And I saw it when I was close up, but I don't think you would see that from a distance because they were skin color. Oh, so you could bring your sunglasses. You'd want to bring sunglasses, a raincoat, and probably a poncho. And then you also want an umbrella. And those things will all go in your bag. And I did not bring them up there with me if there was no rain in the forecast. One of the things that the crew was really good at was making sure we were always fed. That for lunches varied. It was usually some sort of sandwich or a wrap. And then they would send you home with a hot dinner. So as you were leaving, you would just pick up your box of whatever it was. So one day was spaghetti and meatballs. One day they had like a chicken pasta thing, but they were always hot. So you would leave, get back to your place. We rented an Airbnb, and we were in Provo. So it took us 35 minutes to get to set. But by the time you got your food and you went home, you probably took a shower and you got ready for bed, and you just started all over the next day. And somebody told me that's what it would be like. And I thought, oh no, I like to stay up late. You did stay up late because you had to get up at 4:30 in the morning and do it all over. So when you were getting ready in the morning, you didn't have to worry about makeup, but you wash your face and you brush your teeth. And some people like to take showers in the morning. I like to take mine at night, but you had to get your hair ready. You had to get your costume on. I had to have my coffee. And this is a little bit of trivia. I didn't realize that I guess people that are Mormon, they don't drink caffeine or they don't consume caffeine. So you may not find a coffee pot at your Airbnb, which we didn't. So we had to go to Walmart and we bought a little $10 coffee pot that made 5 cups. And then we gave it to somebody when we were done and say, here, take it to, maybe somebody else needs a coffee pot on week 3 or something. So that was cool. But we had a really, really nice townhome that we stayed in. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a garage. And like I said, we were right next to the highway to go where we wanted to. And The town of Provo was so cute. I loved going down there and seeing all the shops and the food. Lots of food choices, lots of treats like ice cream shops and French shop and pastries and whatever. I mean, it's just really, really cute. I really liked Provo a lot. And the temperature was great. The flowers were just blooming all over the place. So their weather is a little bit behind my weather here in Missouri. So all of our trees were almost completely full leaves, and out there the second week they were still somewhat sparse. I mean, there was a lot of leaves, but it was somewhat sparse. But at the beginning of the week, some of the mountaintops had quite a bit of snow on them in the distance, and by the end of the week most of that snow was gone until Friday when the rain came. Where we were, it was snowing in the mountaintops, so there was a fresh powder on all of those white mountaintops. So it was an amazing experience. I mean, I have so many notes that I could spend a whole nother episode just sharing some of the experiences I had and what I went away with. One of those nights that we went out to eat, I actually got a picture taken with Jonathan Roumie, and I did not want to do it, but my friend asked if it would be okay because he'd already taken pictures with 2 other tables. We just happened to be in the same restaurant he was in. These restaurants only hold like, I don't know, 12 or 15 tables. They're very small. And he was sitting at the table right next to us. And when he was getting ready to leave, he talked to somebody at the table next to us. I think they had like a Chosen shirt on or something. Well, this other table, they said, hey, can we get a picture with you? And it was a really big table. And so he did. And as he was walking past us, my friend said, would you mind? Can we get a picture? And he goes, okay. You know, he's real nice. And they tell you specifically, do not bother the actors when they're there because this is their working week. So it's not like Chosen Con. This is where you're supposed to leave them alone. Chosen Con, it's a little bit more okay to talk to them, which I still feel weird about that. Some people think it's great. Other people's like, nah. But the actors have told me that it's okay at Chosen Con. So I don't want to bother these people, but here is Jonathan. And I didn't even get a picture taken with him at Chosen Con. And my friend said, can we get a picture? And he's like, sure. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't want to get in this picture. And she goes, come on. And I'm like, are you sure? And Jonathan is like, yeah, it's fine. And he's very soft spoken, which I didn't expect. And so I got up, and then he put his hands on our backs and smiled for the camera. And then he just said, God bless you, and walked away. And he went outside, and my other friend happened to be outside, and she had been talking to the other man who was at his table because she had just gotten off the phone talking to her daughter and everything. And Jonathan asked her, are you waiting for me? And she's like, oh, no. I mean, she didn't want him to think that, oh, I was waiting for you to come out and I get a picture with you. It wasn't like that. She had been talking to her daughter back in Florida, and she just was having a conversation. So Jonathan happened to walk by, and she talked to him for a few minutes, and then they got a picture taken. So he was very, very gracious. He wasn't on set that day, but it was kind of cool. But you know, he looks so different when he's in street clothes, what they all do, obviously. And he was very nice. He was a very nice person. And then we went back to that same restaurant a few days later, and we ran into Amber. She literally sat right next to us. I mean, you could have reached out and touched her because she was in the same, she's on the table next to us. And so she was there with somebody, probably her husband, I'm guessing, and she looked very beautiful in her street clothes. And we did not say anything to her. We left her alone, and then she left, and she went outside, and one of the actors that was in a prior season, he happened to be outside, and I think maybe somebody else. And it was funny because, again, we're wearing our full Chosen clothing, and we were just looking at them because they were out there for quite a while, 10 minutes or so, talking to some other people, I don't think they were actors, but I think they had something to do with the Chosen. So they were all just chit-chatting outside. And he turned around right before he left, and he waved at us and then walked on. And we're like, oh my gosh, he didn't need to do that. That was kind of cool. So, and then there was one other time inside the tent where I think this happened all 3 weeks, where some of the actors who weren't acting, or maybe they had acted earlier, they came up and then they talked to us. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's about 4 different actors that I saw that came into the tent at different times, and they talked to us. So that was really cool. And of course, Mitch, the guy that runs all the background extras, he's a super nice guy, very polite. All of the crew, they just really work so well together. And as you probably know, not all of them are believers. Some of them don't have any belief. Some of them might be Muslim. They might be another who knows? There's just a bunch of variety of people that are there. Some are Jewish, and they just all get along. I mean, not just the actors, but everybody who is there gets along with each other so well. And it's how life should be. And I leave there with the sisterhood of women because I was with them all week. We all share that same passion. We would take our daily pictures together with the mountains behind us to be like, hey, it was just so very special. So if you ever get the chance to be an extra for The Chosen, I'm telling you, it is worth it. So worth it. And there's only 2 seasons left after this one. So who knows if you'll get the chance. But I would say if you're listening to this podcast and this intrigues you at all, start saving your money so that you can attend. Because you will meet people that will move you. You will witness acting that will make you cry. You will, especially for next season, season 6, you will see how kind Dallas is and how patient he is. And you will see how much he, what's the right word? That entire crew and cast are very, very gracious. And I hope that we as a community of fans really were respectful, enough. I know there were a few things that took place on week 1 that was talked about a lot on week 2, and maybe there was stuff that week 2 did that was talked about on week 3, but there was just some things that was a little bit of bad behavior involving the actors, or people were treating them like they're their buddies or something, and sticking cameras in their face and things that they shouldn't have done on set. And I think that's why they really cracked down on that for week 2. So I just hope that as a whole that they said they did. They said we did great. They said that we were great actors. They didn't have to say all that, but they did. Some of them did. And it was just such a great experience. So I have all my notes. And one of my friends also, she was journaling everything as well. I was journaling on my phone and she's hand journaling. But I'm hoping that when season 5 comes out, I want to be able to come out as soon as season 2 or episode 2 comes out. I want to be like, okay, now I finally get to reveal everything to you about what happened. So it's not so generic. But wow, I am so thankful. I am so blessed. And I really hope I get to do it again. I really do. And I wish I could do it for 3 weeks, but that would require me not having a job or using all 3 weeks of my vacation. So if my company wants to give me like an extra 2 weeks, then I'll just go spend 3 weeks with them next time. Oh my goodness. So anyway, I hope this was interesting and informative for you in case you ever decide you want to be a Chosen extra. And I really hope that you consider it. So if you would like to know more about what's coming with anything related to the podcast, or as I learn things as a Chosen insider, then make sure you join my Facebook group, Walking with the Chosen, so that you can keep informed. And make sure that you like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and hit that bell so that you can be reminded every time a new episode comes out, because I'm going to be releasing these on a weekly basis, maybe twice a week. I don't know. We'll see. But for right now, let's just focus on once a week, getting these out the door so that I can get through all the recaps and get all these interviews out to you, because these interviews, I had 2 amazing interviews this week, or I'm sorry, 2 amazing interviews today of week 1 extras. Oh my gosh. One of them I did not expect what she was going to say. And the other one, she has such a moving story. And I love sharing these stories with you because these are things that as humans, we all encounter different challenges. And The Chosen has helped us see a way. They've given us a story to follow that's not necessarily biblical, but it helps us with our own personal journeys as we go through this life. And that's why I do those interviews. So if you have a preference on if I should do all the recap episodes, seasons 2 through 4 first before I release the interviews, or if you're like, I don't care so much about the recaps, give me the interviews, then maybe I'll start doing those. But you have to let me know, and you have to go into the Walking with the Chosen Facebook group in order to give me your input. And I do rely on those people. I ask all the time different questions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Because I want people to share with me what they think is important so that this podcast is fun and informative and we all enjoy it together. That's all I have for this episode. I know I went way over on my time, so I'm hoping I cut some of it back when I do my editing process. But thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. I don't know where God is taking this podcast, but I'm really excited to find out. And I can't wait to tell you about all the other things, as I'm allowed to, with season 5. And I can't wait to bring you more episodes of Walking with the Chosen. So until next time, you know what to do. Keep walking with the Chosen.